So Cardano ADA has made some decent moves to the upside, and we're talking a 5.36% surge. And the question in your mind and on my mind is, where are we headed next? Now, in my previous video, I talked about two scenarios potentially playing out, and one of which was a bullish scenario, where I was targeting this range here, where the fair value gap is between 80 cents and 84 cents. And the other scenario was a more bearish scenario where I was looking at ADA to potentially break past the 68-cent mark within this contracting triangle. Now, in order for me to break down where we are headed next, what I'll need to do is essentially dissect what has taken place over the last few days. And so we have this contracting triangle that I talked about, and what we can do is adjust to see what has taken place over the last couple of days, over the weekend. And we have this D wave here, which ended up going slightly deeper. And then, of course, you have this E wave potentially playing out also. Now, the interesting thing about this setup is you have this E wave here. Now, this E wave doesn't necessarily have to reach the upper trend line. As long as this E wave is shorter than this C wave, then this structure still remains valid. Now, the interesting thing about this setup also is two scenarios could potentially be playing out, and both of which are bearish. And so one of the scenarios is this contracting triangle, which I've been talking about over the last couple of days. And the other scenario could potentially be a WXY structure forming, and both of which lead to the same target. And ultimately, I do anticipate ADA to reach this zone here. It's just that short term, we are going to be slightly bearish. And so what I'll do is I will dissect what has taken place over the last few days, so since Thursday. So if I was to go down to the 5-minute chart and zoom into here, so straight away I can see that we have a 3-wave move where we have a W wave, X wave, and a Y wave. And then if I just zoom out slightly, I see that we have another 3-wave move. We have a W wave, X wave, and then your Y wave. So W, X, Y. And then if I just zoom out slightly again, you can see that we have another 3-wave move. We have a W wave, X wave, and then your Y wave, which is elongated. And so if I draw that up for you, so you have your W wave, X wave, and then your Y wave. Right? And so here, what we have is our corrective move, and that corrective move is typically a 50 to 88.2% retracement of this wave here. And so if I use the Fibonacci retracement tool, and if I move this to here, so I can see that ADA would reach anywhere between 72 cents and 74 cents. So if I use this box and draw it out for you guys, so you got this region here. And you can see that we have reached this zone. So the question is, are we going to, reach this upper target, or is that it? Are we just going to see moves to the downside now? Now, within this wave, I can already see that we have 3 waves. So we have a W wave, X wave, and your Y wave. And this Y wave will typically be a 1 to 1.236 retracement of this wave W. And so, once again, using the Fibonacci retracement tool, and if I move this to here, so this Y wave would typically reach this zone here between 73.26 and 73.92. So this zone here. So we still have more gas left. Now the question is, are we actually going to reach that zone? So what's interesting about this is we have reached the overbought conditions on our stochastic RSI. And so we could have one final push towards this region here and then see more room to the downside. Now, I did talk about 2 scenarios potentially playing out, one of which was this contracting triangle and one of which was a WXY structure. And so if I just remove some of this, and so what could potentially be playing out is you have this W wave, X wave, and then your Y wave. So if I were just to remove this for now, which I'll bring up soon. So what could be potentially playing out is you have this being a W wave, and then your X wave, and then your Y wave, right? And then what could be forming is a bigger WXY structure, where you have a W wave, X wave, and then your Y wave. And so all Elliott Wave Theory is you have a wave within a wave within a wave within a wave, and the cycle continues, right? So you have a W wave, X wave, and then your Y wave. And then within this W wave, what you have is a W wave, X wave, Y wave. And then within this W wave, what you have is a W wave, X wave, Y wave, and then the cycle continues, right? And that's essentially what could be potentially forming at the moment within this wave structure here. And so here we have a WXY, so that would form a W wave. And then you have a WXY, which would form your X wave. And then you have a WXY structure, which would form this Y wave. And so we could potentially see ADA reach, well, first and foremost, you have this corrective wave, which would be a 50 to 88.2% retracement. So ADA would retrace anywhere between 66 cents and 70.59 cents. So this zone here, which we've already reached, but we could potentially go deeper, as I talked about earlier on, where this 68-cent mark could be broken, and we could potentially reach maybe towards that 66-cent range. And so if this is forming part of a WXY structure, we could potentially see ADA reach anywhere between 1 to 1.236 retracement. So anywhere between 64.9 cents and 66.8 or 9 cents. So yeah, as things stand at the moment, we are bearish. Now the ideal scenario is this low here at 64.71 cents doesn't get broken. And as it stands at the moment, it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. And this will be obviously a really good opportunity to be buying in at this lower range here before we see bigger moves to the upside, where I'm targeting this fair value gap between 80 cents and 84 cents. And so, yeah, that's just my quick update for you guys. Hopefully that wasn't confusing, and hopefully you found this useful. And if you did, then feel free to hit that like button. And if you're new, feel free to subscribe. Take it easy, people. Peace.